listening live to the Two Extreme Horror Show. I'm your host, Rob. I'm broadcasting to you live from the Pine Hills Palace just west of Orlando, Florida, and I've got the real Dr. V with me tonight. Doctor, I have to ask you a question. I'm assuming you're off your meds. Do you know what day it is today?
I don't know, Sonny, but I'm the Leprechaun.
Oh, no.
Oh, Mr. Leprechaun, leave me alone. I'm the Leprechaun. I think of
I
Windsor
won't even
whenever I hear
try,
this
so
movie.
that, I mean, yours is bad, but mine's worse. No, but I mean, it's a special day today, and that day is silence.
The day that everything's closed. No, no, it's St. Patty's Day.
That's right.
The day where no one's out drinking.
Where no one's out drinking. Thank
Where
you,
all the
coronavirus.
quarantine bros? What quarantine that is?
Contagion Week continues here on the Extreme Movie Show, and on here we're going to be talking about Leprechaun 3 from 1995, with, of course, Warwick Davis as the Leprechaun. And this is a very pivotal time, Doctor. If I could be serious for a minute, where Vegas was undergoing a massive transformation from what we would call old Vegas, like Fremont Street and whatnot, to New
Mm-hmm.
Vegas with the Luxor and all these mega hotels. Of course, this film being 25 years old, we see a little bit of that in there, but let's just be honest. If it's a Vegas movie, it has to have certain things. It has to have, uh, what's the word I want to
Shady old
say?
men.
Dirty old men, pervy old men. It has to be women that want to get implants. It has to have old people spending their social security checks,
Pawn
on the slots
stores.
machine. Pawn stars, porn stars, and pawn stars.
Yes.
They are different. It has to have Elvis because it's in Vegas. I could say Tom Jones or some others, but Celine Dion didn't quite make it there yet. So, initial thoughts about this movie, sir?
I saw this on TV at first, and I was like, "What am I watching here?" It was I knew it right away because by the way the girl's dressed, I'm like, she's kind of cute, but I'm like, she's wearing nice, like it was like '90s kind of like I'm seeing everything. I was like, and the CG here was was kind of horrendous, but but like I said, any of these work movies, the Leprechaun movies, they're not serious horror movies.
No.
It's just stupid. Like it starts off with the dude where Leprechaun, comes alive because the guy grabs an amulet and else the guy's like, he's like, oh, he knocks him down with a little pipe. Takes the guy's shoe off and oh, and basically bites the dude's foot off the pawn star.
Hmm.
I was like, what? They bit his toe off. I was like, first he bite his ear, but he bites his toe off. I was like, what? I was like, is he like this in every single movie? When I was, because this was my first one I saw at the time. I don't understand this. It's like, I don't know. I remember the first movie had not Rachel Green. No, what's her name? Jennifer Aniston
Yep.
was in the
Film
first
debut, I
one. So
believe.
yeah. So seeing this movie is like this is like we're just going. Oh, this is because remember this is the first. This is the last one they did because the next one after this, he was in the hood.
Yeah,
So
I can't wait to talk about In the Hood. That's a very special film for me. But
I
you
would say
said you
this.
saw this on TV. Had you seen another Leprechaun movie before this one, or was this your first one? Because we're going out
This
of
was,
order for those that don't
I
know.
know this was my first one.
Okay, so this is your introduction to the franchise. I got it.
This movie was my introduction to the franchise before I went back and watched the other ones. And I gotta say, I like this one out of all of them pretty much.
It's funny. I
It's
think the
just more
strongest thing
wholesome.
about this movie is the fact that it doesn't shy away from him being a bastard when it comes to the gore. But it's like a lot of films. It's like The Transporter. Okay, follow me here. You have your certain rules. As long as the rules are followed and everybody understands the construct, you're good. So it's like, he has to have his gold. And basically, the whole thing to this movie is you're right. He's a statue at first. He's in a pawn shop with an Indian guy, which, by the way, for some reason, the '90s films just love making fun of Indians.
All right.
And they spared no expense in here because the first third of the movie, yeah, you're right, he's biting his ear off, his toe. And of course, every time he does it, he's got some little Irish rhyme with it, which is just fantastic. And he's drinking Irish whiskey with the guy. But well,
Limerick.
it's incredible. But there's these dark tones where he's just really gory, and then there's a lot of little goofy stuff in there. And whenever you have something like this, as much as you have to follow him, as soon as we see the girl, we're like, hubba hubba. But then when we see the guy, we're like, dork soda. And then we're like, yeah, we want to see everybody die except maybe the girl. And then, of course, you don't
Yep.
have anybody else that's mean. You have these bumbling people trying to, the bouncers and the coolers trying to chase him around. And it's a laugh riot. But no, really, this
Well,
movie is
well,
entertaining. It is fun. It's a
well,
funny movie.
we know from the other movies, previous to this, that the Leprechaun, he always takes interest in the girls. Sometimes, but this one he didn't really do it at all. The first one he did though. He liked the girl,
Yep.
and it was a boyfriend that was always that had to save her. But in this one it's different though. So I thought that was interesting, a fresh take. Finally they're not doing that
Well,
where
I
he
think
just
you could
wants his
argue that
gold.
that and to your point, they could argue that he matured here because now he's an older, wiser leprechaun, male leprechaun. So he's just
Mm-hmm.
got his money, and that's all he's worried about is basically his nest egg. And so when, of course, one of his wishing coins goes missing and passes through different hands, and people unintentionally, or if you will, have wishes and things happen or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Those are always plot points too. But that's all he really wants. So you could argue that he's not evil, but I mean, it's just really insane, over the top stuff. And frankly, it's like I say, it's an improvement over the first two.
It was. And it's just like I said. Every time you see him though in the costume, it's just I just gotta crack up because I know that's Warwick Davis,
Yep.
but but the fact they're doing a whole Leprechaun, it's like I never would have thought they were going to Leprechaun horror movies, and then like I know that because after this movie, like the '90s, they're like, oh, we're gonna start doing gingerbread horror movies, and so I was
I like
like when
ginger
is it?
snaps now. Come on.
That was different though. It had nothing to do with gingerbread.
I know. But no, but here's the thing with this film, you're kind of rooting for him. You're kind of not. This is kind of that time in the mid '90s where it's not the '80s anymore. '90s felt like it didn't have much of an identity. So you meet this young girl pretty early on. This beautiful blonde, natural-looking woman doesn't seem too cynical or too doughy-eyed. Just seemed kind of nice, I guess. Named Tammy, and her car's got problems, and she's a magician's assistant, and she meets this complete dork named Scott, who I just wanted to see him get mauled, but he was going to be the leading guy, so I knew he'd be around. And he's just a dipshit.
His giant ears. You notice it?
I mean, it's important for what happens later, but the bottom line is they talk, and he can't seal the deal, and he gives her a ride to her job at the hotel. I think it was the Shamrock, Smiling Shamrock Hotel, or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's not one more person that really inspired a lot of hatred out of me when I saw this film. Not because of Scott. Scott totally went into the okay category. Once the stupid Fazio magician on there,
Yeah.
I wanted to see him gut gored, quarter drawn, and just run over. I wanted to see all violent hell, unleashed on this guy just because the way I
I
did, which tells me he did a fantastic job because the way he would
yeah.
move and do the magician stuff. Oh, it really
That was
touched me in
that.
a negative way.
Well, that was their whole point. They wanted this is Vegas. Everybody's a sleazeball.
Yep, and he was a good sleazebag magician, not a cool one or a funny one or a romantic couple one or any of the types that are out there.
Yeah.
He was an asshole, and he treated as you'll address me as the great one, and you're like, really? I mean, and of course, the older assistant there too is kind of jealous, and she's wishing for, you know, breast implants to look younger, because she's vain, and of course that happens later.
Yeah.
But yeah, this whole first act here, by the time the Leprechaun meets up with all of them, what did you think of this?
Like I said, like this whole movie, it was corny, but like it kind of knew it was corny. Any of these horror movies, you're lucky if you get something that's got a decent plot line.
Yeah,
I felt this movie had, like I said, it had a decent plot line. It had a moral implications. I was like, careful what you wish for. Treat others with respect and nice stuff. Don't be a jerk because you do, you're dying. Because the leprechaun, he was evil, but he was also kind of a just evil if you think about it. So
it's almost like a Mora tale in a way because the Leprechaun, when he is chasing his goal because he's got that sense for it, he like crosses the street from the pawn shop into the gambling room, and of course there's certain rules like we said in Vegas. Some of them we did leave out is that Lady Luck's got a ride, and always doctor, no matter what, you're the doctor here, but I'm gonna give this prescription for anybody listening. You don't remember this making anyone's top 10? Well, I'm gonna have to go back and double check. Did we do 95? Maybe we did. I think so. Um, you always bet on black, and red 7-1, and I think black 13. That's like, oh boy, here we go. But yeah, the cooler comes up with his muscle, and he's like, "Buddy, we gotta go." And he's like, "Get your hands off me, you're rude." And he sticks the coin in the guy's mouth, and then he bends his arm like a slot machine, and the guy starts puking out coins. That was so funny. And then of course there's light things like that, like the toe being bitten off and then the ear, and then him
Yeah, yeah.
drinking. But then but then each kill like it like ups the ante a little bit. It gets a little
Oh,
bit
it does.
darker, and that's what I like about this film because that's kind of like the dark part to it. It's not everything's equal level gore. It like they're a little different, and then they're a little more intense, and I appreciated that. I really, really, really like that about this film. Um, then of course, what is it? The magician meets him. It's like, hello, little person, watch this. And he does the hat with the rabbit, and he's like, oh shit, because he's got the green poop. Ed, I hope this made your top 10. I hope you saw it.
Oh
Yeah, so what's
man.
your favorite scene out of this?
Well, towards I gotta say I think it was the hotel owner, the guy, her boss.
The sleazebag
Um,
guy,
not the magician, the
right?
old fat guy. The one, they wanted to sleep with. They obviously wanted to sleep with Tammy.
Yes.
The scene with it with the sex doll. I was literally shocked, and so was he.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because he has a coin. I think he doesn't realize it, and his assistant, who's older, is antagonizing him. He's like, "Yeah, I could have any woman." She's like, "Yeah, whatever." He's like, "I could have that blonde over there, who's of course Tammy," and of course she gets captured by the spell, and they go to make sweet, sweet love up there in the big room there, the steaming pile of poop. I'm looking at it right now. Um,
Ugh.
and then of course it doesn't go well, and then of course you know Leprechaun's seeing the porn on the TV channel, and the guy's seeing it, and then the girl crawls out on him, and then the Leprechaun's in the TV commercial. I just want to tell you about the scenes. I don't really want to analyze the movie. Yeah. So I don't know. To me, I think my favorite scene would be where it's towards the end of the movie, and it's one of the most classic scenes because you're always going to get like a card trick, you're always going to get like a bunny trick, and you're always going to get the pretty little assistant appearing in different places. But of course, one old time classic is one that doesn't involve the assistant, and unless she's doing some of the work, usually is a distraction, of course. It's the whole "we're going to saw you in half" trick and show it to you
Yeah.
because
So,
the fabulous
uh,
Fazio, who's bombing constantly, is standing up there, and he's going to do it, and he's being heckled by the leprechaun, and the leprechaun's wooing the audience. And I don't know what to call this, but it's not a bro off, it's not a dance off, it's a magician off. I don't know, a magic
yeah,
off.
right.
And so he tries to pull out his ultimate trick, and the leprechaun saws him in half. And the
Yeah,
crowd's losing it because blood is squirting everywhere.
I know, right? Warwick Davis, the guy who plays Leprechaun, he said this film was his favorite of the series because he liked the humor in it. His exact words, I think it tapped the potential of bringing a comedic element to it. And the guy who directed this, is one incredible director. He says he manages to get so much for so little money, and that was what was great about working with him. You really got the humor. And so I agree that like compared to the first two, this was like a total change, and this was comedy horror, kind of like a dark, really dark comedy. Um,
Well,
but
it does
yeah,
seem
yeah,
like he had a lot of fun making it. I mean, look, he's obviously vertically challenged. He's played in a lot of roles. I mean, I remember him back in Willow, and he's probably been in some other stuff, maybe before that, without even looking up his resume. So for him to want to come back for a third film, you could say, yeah, it's just a paycheck. But sometimes in these movies, what happens
yeah,
is everyone's kind of just checking the box, not interested in it. Maybe it's just like whatever. But I feel like everybody in this movie does their role, as limited as those roles are, pretty good, pretty
Well,
well. I
this
mean, there's no depth to any of them. You don't really give a rat's ass. You just
uh,
want to see what happens. That's what makes it funny.
this movie had a budget of 2.5 million, and they want to be that year. It was the highest directed video uh, movie of 1995.
Yeah, and this is also a time too that the video rental industry was just gangbusters. You can talk about Blockbuster, Video News, all these different places, and
Well, yeah,
I'm sure you
you
remember
can
that
get
as a kid growing up. But this is a movie that could be made like this, even if it bombed in the movie theaters. People would say, "Oh, well, it's got a second market," and I think that kind of changed the attitude and approach that a lot of people had towards these
well
because
a
it
lot of
wasn't
these.
until late '90s they start spending a lot of money on films.
Well, yeah, a lot of these I see these directed video ones. These are ones that weren't intended for the theaters, but they made money for the rentals,
Yep.
and people buying them. I those dude, all the Dolph Lundgren movies. I was buying those. Those when those a lot of those were never. I would never care to see them on the big screen.
Right.
But they were entertaining though. They're simple to the point. It's like I was watching a couple of years back. There was it was robots versus zombies, and you had you know Dolph Lundgren in there, and like there's it literally was. He took these robots to help, and they reprogrammed, and they helped him clear this island that's full of zombies, so he could rescue this general's daughter. And it worked too. I was like, it was like just like pretty decent. So,
Well,
um,
yeah, another
it,
thing too is you could find these films for like a buck or two sometimes. Just
oh yeah,
in a grocery store they had a place to rent videos and movies. Sometimes they're going to sell. And if you saw, oh, I don't know, but it's got Dolph Lundgren in it. Oh, it's a Leprechaun movie. I'm going to get that for a buck or two. It's like,
well
and you
yeah.
would watch it, and it was digestible, which is what we're talking about with this film.
I have this place called Woodman's right here, and then it's a grocery store, and it has these two huge bins, where you can just find movies for under $5.
Yep.
They're on DVDs. Some are Blu-ray and stuff. It's like some of these are the old classic ones. They have like 4 or 5, or on a disc. But yeah, like I said, this movie it knew what it wanted to be. It wasn't. That's not supposed to be like, oh, it's the best movie over. Of the. But I love a lot of the direct video ones because you're getting especially the '90s Fazio guy. He's a '90s character. The way he acts.
Fabio,
He's like
Fabio,
he's supposed
Fabio.
he's supposed to be like those guys, Siegfried and Roy. His whole character. But him, he's a con artist. He's a horrible musician or magician. But people don't and he's a snob. I love that that they actually did that because a lot of times you find those guys like they're like in the what was it Happy Gilmore or no not Happy Gilmore, it was the other one, the wedding singer. You had the guy who uh Robbie Williams played by Sandler is competing against for Drew Barrymore. It's attention, and that guy was a total sleazebag and jerk. He was the bully. And that's what these guys are world. And these are every '90s movie you watch, where it has just something like that, where a guy likes a girl, the nerdy guy. There's always the cool hip douche guy. And a lot of times the douche guy ends up something bad happens to him. So, and that was '90s.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, '80s was just it was just like
Everybody dies in the '80s. Here,
yeah,
everybody got
yeah, yeah.
pickier about that in the '90s.
But
Well,
yeah,
the thing
yeah.
with this, I was going to say, the thing with this director you were talking about, I think, is an important point is that a lot of times we just go see the movie because we're like, oh, it's a Leprechaun, or it's a horror, it's a comedy. We don't really necessarily think about all those things. But to your point, this guy, he did a film that I'm looking at his lineup now, Brian Trenton Smith, I think. And he
Night
did
of
a
the
film
Demons,
that I
man.
think I remember in the '80s, and I'm looking now called BMX Bandits that starred Nicole Kidman, and he's Australian. So there's like an Australian type of feel to his movies, and apparently what this guy's done is he made like a lot of documentaries on low budgets, so he can bring that tightness up into what would be considered a major picture, even though very little money was spent on this film. But he did two incredible films that were just really bizarrely nuts like this, and they were Megiddo. I don't know how the hell you pronounce it. I think it's biblical. The Omega Code, like the Omega Code 2, and it's got like Udo Kier, Franco Nero, Michael York's in it, a bunch of people. It's like religious sci-fi. It's just crazy weird stuff, and it's like, you know what, now that you look at some of these films that this guy's done, you're like, oh, I see what this guy's about, what he does. And so sometimes,
Yeah.
we label people, but that's not necessarily a bad reason. When I say, oh, I'm a John Carpenter mark, I'll watch anything he's directed and pretty much has the same people on it. I just love them.
Well,
Now most of it's
another.
probably his photographer, but I still love his films. And Leprechaun, by now, with this new director for them, it really changed direction, because when we talk about In the Hood and other things, they keep this comedy.
Yes, and he only did Leprechaun 3 and Leprechaun 4. He didn't do the other ones. Also a different director.
Hmm.
But this guy also did my other movie I like by with stars Thomas Jane and John Cusack. It's called Drive Hard. That was like it came out in 2014. That was another good movie I liked. I never realized it was him. Uh, but yeah, so this guy went on to as being as Quentin Tarantino apparently is said that this guy is he cited him as being one of his favorite directors. You know, so I mean, he inspired Tarantino to do some stuff. I'm not sure what other movie that that were. If you, I guess, I have to watch some of his Tarantino movies see if he's done any of these movies based off of this guy's stuff. But I don't know. It's weird. This guy went from like doing some like he did some like some horror movies, but then he also did some like some friendly movies, so it's family friendly stuff. So see him do this movie, it kind of like it's a happy medium at both. It's just kind of like you said, this is kind of like your dark, your horror, it's scary stuff. But there's all like I said, there's also you get the kind of family friendly, almost a little bit like the boy meets girl, boy wins girl and saves girl and stuff.
Yeah.
Happy ending.
Because if you take out the few scenes of violence, it's quite
Yeah.
cartoonish. And you could say,
Yeah.
oh, if it was a
Yeah.
TV edit, anybody could watch it, because there's not necessarily a lot of language. I mean, there's a little, but not a lot. But it's not overly adult feeling or whatever. I mean, it seems kind of almost bordering slapstick a little bit.
Yep. Sadly, though, the girl who plays Tammy Lee Armstrong. This was her last movie. She quit acting after this, and apparently started working for Howard Stern as an intern.
Oh,
And
really?
I watched a video with Howard, where she was on a Howard Stern show, or Howard Stern talking about her, and I guess he did a interview, and he said that basically that she went crazy. She went like vegan or something like that, or new wave, and yeah, I don't know if she's still alive or I mean, her Wikipedia is really like you try to find anything about her, like they just show this movie. That's all you should. You don't see anything else in this. Like, and that's true with Hollywood. There's a lot of them that like they'll do like a movie or two and then they'll disappear. There was a woman, another actress from the '60s that did that too.
Hmm.
We watched. She was in that movie. With the one with what's his name? Captain Kirk.
William Shatner.
Yeah, the horror movie
The
he
one
did.
we did, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Impulse with William Shatner.
Impulse.
Very low budget film.
I
Almost
can
nobody
never
would
forget
know.
the name.
She turned down
But
Weinstein. That's actually maybe true. You never know. Turned down somebody apparently. Yeah, Hollywood's
yeah,
just got that small group, and if you're not in that family, politically, economically, sexually, um, literally born into it with names, you're pretty much not doing it. And that's not to say that there's not talent out there. I'm not saying that. But bottom line is when you look at a film like this, I put in there. Ed was made some comments that this is a very 90s feeling kind of film. The music, the way people dressed, it didn't feel like the 80s. It didn't feel like the 2000s. It feels like the 90s. It's hard to explain, except for maybe like the guys with the haircut and the girl the way she was dressed. And so it's like a good timepiece. You go back and you go, okay, it's not overly dated like say a 70s flick, but yeah, it's. I think for me, for my philosophy, go watch this thing. It's St. Patrick's Day. We
huh.
always were going to talk about doing a Leprechaun. We were talking about it the other day. I was like, okay, let's start off with the Leprechaun. I don't know if you've seen it. You're like, no, the Vegas one. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it. I'd forgotten how funny it was and just how a little different it is. And when you have a movie like this that's on a low budget and they can pound out sequels because they make just enough money, I don't mind it when they sometimes try to change a little bit. Like one time they try to be funny, another time they try to be romantic or serious, or they change the location big time or something. I don't mind that in a low budget thing. That's part of the fun to it to me that helps keep it fresh. And I think that's where sometimes, you know, just give people what they want, try something different. You can keep that audience alive because this movie, if you haven't seen it, you go watch it. It's fun. You probably won't seek it out again, but if it's on TV and you're feeling dumb or stupid, just watching these really bad limericks getting spit out. Even when Scotty's turning into one, which is a big part of the movie too, and before their big final battle, it's kind of funny. It's some dumb stupid limerick, and then boom, there goes an ear, there goes a toe, or there goes a whatever. I mean, it's dumb, simple juvenile humor, and dang it, I like it. What about you?
And
Final
this,
thoughts?
my final thoughts is this guy who plays Scott here, the guy who's turning into the Leprechaun.
Scott.
He he went on Scotty.
Yeah.
Dude, his acting career didn't really take off as much. He got some more roles. He's still doing stuff today. He was involved in Kong Skull Island. Apparently, he helped do the story and screenplay.
Interesting.
He helped, same with Power Rangers, the new one, and the House of Tomorrow. He's been doing stuff. He's writing stuff for people for movies, screenplays. So, yeah, his current thing he did is he's co-producer of Ready to Rumble. That was
Hmm.
one, or that was not current, but I'm saying that was one of the ones he did. He co-produced that. So this guy, even though he did this, is acting his role, dude was smart. He focused on his strengths. He probably learned about from what, like, well, who knows, the director maybe helped him out, give him some pointers and stuff.
Right.
But he's been in a lot of stuff. I never noticed that he was in the Shaggy Dog. He played the homeless guy. He was like the big fat liar. He was a tuk tuk driver.
Right.
So he just played add-ons for a lot of these movies. And okay, dude, hey, you don't have to be the main star to get paid money.
Right. And one of the '70s shows that eventually may tackle, may not, is the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew series, and Sean Cassidy was a huge pop icon at the time. I wouldn't say the greatest actor in the world, but he was super hot in the '70s. He had, a couple hits. He was on Teen and Tiger Beat and all the teen magazines, the lunchboxes, all that stuff. And then the show was, and I was a big fan of Parker Stevenson because of the show. I thought it was just great teen nonsense television, but he's a guy that found a lot of success in the late 80s, early 90s, and I'm not sure, I haven't looked him up recently or researched him, but he's found a lot of success behind the screen directing. He did a show or two that was considered very good that the name escapes me. I think it was for one season. It was around Twin Peaks time that people liked, or the late 90s, and I thought, oh, that might be something worth delving into at one point, but Dark Skies maybe. But yeah, you're absolutely right. People can definitely find a lot of success in Hollywood without having to be on screen. And Warwick, he has to be this, and he brought a really fun attitude to this film, and it comes across that way. And he seems like he enjoys playing a leprechaun, and it's because we decided to go ahead and select it for tonight. Uh,
Yeah,
we're going to call it a night here in a little bit. We're going to be checking out Top 10 Tuesday, I believe 2007, with Angleton from I Love Comics. We'll be doing that shortly. And Ed's watching Magicians, he's saying, and it's good enough for me to be on episode 12, season 1. Wow. We're going to have a Dalton appearance here soon, I suppose, because of that, Ed, once he listens to this. Nice, nice. I know he's pimped it out. I don't know anything about it, haven't really looked at it. I think it's been on, but I haven't really paid attention to it. So awesome, cool deal. There's a lot of new stuff on right now, but I haven't filtered through it. But since the coronavirus is making me work from home for a couple weeks, I guess I will be pounding out some trash that we'll be reviewing. And that's what we'll be doing next time on the Two Extreme Horror Show. More trash. A little gem from 1981 called Night School. All right, for the doctor, from myself, have a good night. Stay extreme.
enjoy your green beer, and don't steal me gold.
Shamrocks and shenanigans. Good night.
And green poop.